Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa man wala. Then
Yeah, we're on
the
the next
Sheikh,
page.
this is page 24.
I'm looking at 23. Okay.
Then Sheikh is still in the Anwa al-Ibadah, the types of Ibadah, and bringing their dalil one by one. So he began with al-Islam and al-Iman and al-Ihsan, and then he explained ad-du'a, and then al-khawf. Inshallah ta'ala, I say we should try our best as we go through these. So for instance, if today we cover ar-raja and at-tawakkul, then the next time, before we begin with ar-raghba or rahba, then we go through it again and we say al-Islam, al-Iman, al-Ihsan, ad-du'a, al-khawf, ar-raja, at-tawakkul. This is only going to help us to memorize this book. It's only going to help us to know and become more familiar. So my suggestion is that we try to memorize these 17 types of ibadah that he brings here. So the first was al-Islam, then al-Iman, then al-Ihsan, ad-du'a, and al-khawf. There's 5 of them. And here he starts with ar-raja, which is number 6. And with this, we'd be a third of the way. We memorized a third of them. Al-Islam, al-Iman, al-Ihsan, that's easy. Ad-du'a, al-khawf, ar-raja. Right? This is simple, right? Al-khawf ar-raja. Alright? Fear and hope. This is the two wings of the bird, right? 2 wings of the bird. And the head is al-muhabba, as Ibn al-Qayyim says, right? But al-maradu bir-raja. Al-marad, the intent or the purpose, right? Bir-raja. Oh, here, up here rather. My line should be up above, not there. Give me a second. It should be. I put the line in the wrong place.
What the little Raja?
No. وَالدَّلِيلُ الرَّجَاءِ قَوْلُهُ تَعَالَى. And the evidence for a raja, which we said is a type of hope. And he's going to give us some explanation here. And this will also be a good for us to try to see the difference, because there's going to be another type of hope mentioned later on, a raghba. And what's the difference? And what's the difference between al-khawf wa rahba, right? And khashya, right? So we can learn those differences. Also, istighatha and isti'ana, they seem to be synonyms, right? So inshallah ta'ala, as he explains them, then we'll try to figure out the differences, so we're not just thinking about these things in the same light whenever we hear them and we say, oh, that's seeking help, right? So what dalilul raja'i, and the evidence for raja, which is a type of hope. But since we're learning Arabic, we just say ar-raja qawluhu ta'ala, right? Qawluhu ta'ala, his statement, the Most High. فَمَنْ كَانَ يَرْجُو لِقَاءَ رَبِّهِ فَلْيَعْمَلْ عَمَلًا صَالِحًا وَلَا يُشْرِكْ بِعِبَادَةِ رَبِّهِ أَحَدًا or أَحَدًا. فَمَنْ, so whoever, كَانَ يَرْجُو, he, and here a lot of times, and this is just the way that Allah is speaking here, and it's used as well, we just have to get used to it. Kana puts us like in the past tense, meaning whoever, he was hoping, right? He was hoping. But it's not just past tense, it also continues us into the future, right? Man kana yarju, whoever was hoping, liqa'a rabbihi. Liqa, right? Liqa is the meeting. Rabbihi, the meeting of his Lord. Whoever hopes in the meeting of his Lord, right? فَلْيَعْمَلْ. Fa, then, and the lamb here is the lamb of Amr, right? The lamb of Amr. فَلْيَعْمَلْ. Right? Then let him work. Let him do the action. Amal. Right? Ya'mal is to work. Amalan. Salihan. Then let him do or let him work a righteous action. And we don't want to just say one righteous action. It's righteous actions in general. Because it doesn't have alif lam, doesn't mean the righteous action. It means let him do a righteous action, meaning basically any righteous action. Therefore, plural, right? Because it is general. So we're going to translate it like in the plural. فَمَنْ كَانَ يَرْجُو. So whoever hopes, or whoever hoped. لِقَاءَ رَبِّهِ. Hoped in what? In the liqa. That's the maf'ulun bihi. That's the object. Rabbihi is mudaf ilayh. Whoever hoped in the meeting of his Lord, فَلْيَعْمَلْ عَمَلًا صَالِحًا. Then let him do a righteous action, right? وَلَا يُشْرِكْ. And not commit shirk, and not associate partners. بِعِبَادَةِ رَبِّهِ. In the worship of his Lord. Ibadah here has a kasra because of the ba'. And it is mudaf ilayh, ibadati rabbihi. Then let him not associate partners, be ibadati rabbihi, right? In the worship of his Lord, ahadan or ahada, meaning anyone. Let him not associate anyone. Associate who? Anyone. Maf'ulun bihi, mansoob. فَمَنْ كَانَ يَرْجُو لِقَاءَ رَبِّهِ. Whoever hopes in the meeting of his Lord, فَلْيَعْمَلْ عَمَلًا صَالِحًا. Then let him do a righteous action. Basically, any righteous action or all righteous actions. وَلَا يُشْرِكْ بِعِبَادَةِ رَبِّهِ أَحَدًا. And don't let him associate anyone in the worship of his Lord. Clear?
No.
Al-maradu bir-raja'i. The intent be with ar-raja. Intidar ma yu'ammilu. Intidar from noon dha ra, meaning to wait. Intidar, to wait. Ma yu'ammilu. What? Yu'ammilu from alif mim lam. Form 2, meaning to hope. So intidar, waiting. Ma, what? Yu'ammilu, what he is hoping for, basically. To wait for what he's hoping for. Mithlu, like. Shakhsun, a person. Right? Yad'u. He makes dua. Yad'u rabbahu. He calls on his Lord. He makes dua to his Lord. Right? Annahu, that he, yanjah. Yanjah from noon, jim, ha, meaning to be successful, to succeed. Shakhsun yad'u rabbahu annahu yanjah. A person, he calls on his Lord that he succeeds or is successful. Is successful would be a noun, and yanjah is a verb. So he makes dua to his Lord that he succeeds. فالرجاء النجاح هذا عبادة. فالرجاء نجاحي مضاف إليه. So having this raja, or waiting for this success. Najah from yanjah, same word. Najah is success. So hoping or waiting for this success, this word hada is just saying like if you say, it's just like an emphasis. For raja'un najah, or they have this, or they have these colons in the wrong place. Hada ibadah. That's probably better. If we get rid of the colons out of our mind, and we get rid of that for a minute, let me erase it. Let me get my eraser smaller though, if it'll let me. If I get rid of them two lines, that colon, oh, too much I got rid of, huh? It won't let me do it. Here's what I'll do. I could do it. Give me a second. I'll do it like this. I'll just go with the pen, you know. Hada najah. Right? For raja'u najahi. So
Hada najah.
Hada ibadah. Hada ibadah. I messed up. Hada ibadah. So hoping for or waiting for this success. Hada ibadah. This is ibadah. This is ibadah. This is a type of worship. So he goes to explain. Yani, meaning, intidar ad-da'wa, hoping for the dua, the call, the answer, right? Hadihi ibadah. Waiting for this da'wah.
Do that comma should be there.
I took it out.
That's in me.
After
I'm talking about
hadihi.
the next one. No, the next one. Oh, okay. You did take it out.
Yeah, I just took it out. Intidar ad-da'wa, hadihi ibadah. Waiting for the dua. This is ibadah. The da'wah here, he's going to use it as dua, as a call. He's going to explain. Hadi ibadah. This is ibadah. مثل شخص يدعو ربه أنه يدخل الجنة. Right? Al-Jannata. He's waiting to enter into Jannah. Enter into what? Into Jannah. Right? So, a person. شخص يدعو ربه. Again, who does he call? His Lord. So it's mansub. Right? أنه يدخل الجنة. That he enters into Jannah. فكونه. Kawn here has to do with the verb is, are, was, were. So we'll figure out how to translate that. فكونه. So his being, his being, his ising, his worrying, right? And we'll figure that out. يرجو دخول الجنة. What is he hoping for? دخول الجنة. Right? His hoping for entering into Jannah. هذه عبادة. This is عبادة. هذه عبادة. So, كونه, we're going to say his being, or the fact that he is, his condition of that he is in, of hoping to enter into Jannah, then this is ibadah. So again from the top. Al-maradu bir-raja, the intent by ar-raja. Intidharu ma yu'ammilu. Hoping or waiting for what he is hoping for. Mithlu shakhsun yad'u rabbahu annahu yanjah. That a person, he calls on his Lord that he is successful. فَالرَّجَاءُ النَّجَاحِ هَذِهِ عِبَادَةٌ. Then his hoping for success, this is ibadah. يعني انتظار الدعوة هذه ibadah. Meaning, his waiting for the call, this is ibadah. This is a type of worship. مثل شخص, like a person, يدعو ربه أنه يدخل الجنة, that he enters into Jannah. A person, he hopes that he calls on his Lord that he enters into Jannah. فَكَوْنُهُ. So his being, the fact that he is يرجو دخول الجنة, that he is hoping for the entrance into Jannah. هذه عبادة. This is a type of worship, or this is a worship, an act of worship. وانتظار إجابة الدعاء عبادة بعد إبادة. وانتظار, this is the noun. وانتظار, same as up here. And waiting. Ijaba, from Jim Waw Ba, that's how you look it up originally. Ijaba, the answer of the dua. وانتظار إجابة الدعاء, waiting for the answer of the dua. Ibadah, ba'da, ibadah, is an act of worship after an act of worship. فَمَنْ قَالَ مَثَلًا, so whoever he said, for example, Ya Rabb, Ya Rabbi, O my Lord, and this would be Ya Rabbi.
Those are the yeah.
You would have the ya is just dropped in the Quran. They just drop it, Ya Rabbi, right? Although it would have a ya, right? It's like saying Rabbi, right? But we just don't have that ya there. We just put Ya Rabbi, right? Ya Rabbi, oh my Lord, right? Ishfini, from shifa, meaning cure me, heal me. My Lord, ishfini, cure me. وهو مريض, and he is sick. فلما دعا هذه عبادة. So when دعا, he made dua, هذه, right? What?
Marid. That shut over the rock.
No, just marid, not marid, not marid, marid.
Marid.
Now, فلما دعا هذه, and this هذه is again an emphasis, or you could say it's not. You could take it out and get rid of that 2 lines. فلما دعا, so when he called, when he made dua, هذه عبادة. This is عبادة. وانتظار الشفاء, وانتظار الشفاء, and the waiting on the healing, the cure, مضاف مضاف إليه, وانتظار الشفاء, and waiting on the healing or the cure, عبادة أخرى, is another ibadah. وهي عبادة الرجاء, and it is the ibadah of الرجاء. So in other words, عبادة الرجاء. Here is عبادة أخرى. Right?
Okay, I'm lost now.
Why?
Why does the character double attain?
Ibadah?
Yeah.
Doesn't have alif lam, and it's not mudaf mudaf ilay. Ukhra is
that's the beginning? It's not connected to the rest of this?
No, here, listen. When tidaru shifa, and hoping for the cure, or waiting for the cure, this would be your mubtada. When tidar. Intidar is your mubtada, right? Ibadah is your khabar. And hoping or waiting is ibadah. And waiting is ibadah. Waiting for the cure or the healing is ibadah. Right? وَانْتِظَارُ شِفَاءِ عِبَادَةٌ أُخْرَى is another act of worship, basically. آخر, right? We have آخر. Let's see, let's go here. آخر, right? And we have آخر. We had this, we said آخر means another. آخر means the last, right? The last. And we have feminine would be أخرى, right? أخرى. if the word is feminine. So we have, for instance, another pen. We have qalamun akhar. We have another siyara, another car, siyaratan ukhra. This would be another for a feminine. This is like an adjective for a feminine item. Akhir, right? And then we have akhirah for the last, right? In the akhirah, hayat al-akhirah, the life of the hereafter, right? Akhirah has a ta marbuta. So that's the difference. Akhirah, this means last. Akhar and ukhra means another. So when we say here, ibadatun is another type of worship. It's another act of worship. Ukhra, another one. وَانْتِظَارُ شُفَاء. So in other words, فَلَمَّا دَعَى, when he made dua, we said dua is the first type of ibadah that we went into detail after Islam, al-Iman, and Ihsan, dua. So the fact that he asked Allah, Ya Rabbi ishfini, this is an act of ibadah. If he said, Ya Fulan ishfini, wouldn't that be shirk? Of course, right? If he said to someone other than Allah, Ya Fulan ishfini, this is going to be shirk. So it shows that this is an act of ibadah. This dua, Ya Rabbi ishfini, this is ibadah. Wa intidaru shifa, and hoping and waiting for the healing from Allah, ibadatun ukhra, is another act of ibadah. Wa hiya ibadatul raja, and it is the ibadah, the worship of ar-raja, this waiting for what you hope for. Subhanallah. If you think about that, man, Allah is so merciful that this, and he goes to explain. He just goes to explain. He says, فَالْمُسْلِمُ يتقلب من عبادة
قلبوا وقلبوا.
Give me 1 second. Make sure. Make sure. Okay, there we go. 1 second. هو الفتى يتقلب نعم يتقلب والشد on the line يتقلب, right? يتقلب فالمسلم, نعم, this is form 5. فالمسلم يتقلب, he from qalb, the word qalb, which is the word for heart, right? And they say the word for heart is called the heart because it goes from one thing to another, right? So for instance, in tajweed we have the word, the rule for iqlab, where if a noon comes before a ba, a noon sakin comes before a ba in another word, right, or in the same word, right, then this noon is changed to a meme. So that's why you see some people say Ahmed ibn Hanbal and some people say Ahmed ibn Hanbal, because of this noon in his meme, even though Hanbal is not a tajweed, it's not in the Quran, right? But this happens, right? So this qalb is because things fluctuate between one and another. So this form 5 here means to turn and to be to go back and forth, to get tossed about, right? Min ibadatin ila ibadatin. Min ibadatin ila ibadatin. It's basically the Muslim, he goes back and forth. He's tossed around. He is fluctuating from one ibadah to another. Right? He is moving around. He's constantly doing one ibadah to another. So Allah says in 1 second. He says, 1 second here, I'll find out exactly. What is that? Oh, I went the wrong way. He says, that's not it. Where's it at? SubhanAllah. Anyway, there's an ayah, I can't think of it right now. فَإِذَا فَرَغْتَ فَانْصَبْ. So when you have finished, right? When you have finished, right? فَانْصَبْ. فَإِذَا فَرَغْتَ. When you have a gap or a free time, meaning you finish one ibadah and you've reached an end, fansab, then devote yourself to Allah's worship. Meaning, the scholars of tafsir, some of them say that this means when you finish one act of ibadah, start another one. Right? Start another one. You're never finished. Right? You're never finished with worship. فَالْمُسْلِمُ يَتَقَلَّبُ مِنْ عِبَادَةٍ إِلَى عِبَادَةٍ. The Muslim is going and moving around from one ibadah to another. كما قال سبحانه, just as glorified as he said, قُلْ إِنَّ صَلَاتِي وَنُسُكِي وَمَحْيَايَ وَمَمَاتِي لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. Say, verily, verily, salati, my salat, wa nusuki, and my sacrifice. Nusuk is another word for sacrifice. Wa nusuki, and my sacrifice. Wa mahyaya, and my living, from hayat, right? My living. Wa mamati, right? From mot, and my death. Lillahi, or for Allah. Lillahi, for Allah, Rabbil Alameen, the Lord of all creation, the Lord of all the worlds. Right? فَمَنْ صَرَفَ الرَّجَاءُ. فَمَنْ صَرَفَ الرَّجَاءَ. So whoever directed or spent, right, or changed, how are we, I think directed or spent is going to be the best two words. فَمَنْ صَرَفَ raja'a li ghayrillah. Whoever directed this raja or spent this raja, whoever did this raja li ghayrillah, for other than Allah, waqa'a fi shirk. He fell into shirk. Waqa'a means to fall into something, right? Waqa'a fi shirk. He fell into shirk. Wal iyadhu billah. وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. And refuge is sought in Allah. Then mithlu. We have just two lines and we'll read them. That way we can read them together. You read from your paper anyway, you said. Lo shakhsun. Lo, if a person. Ata, he came. Right? He came from alif ta, alif maksura. Ata, he came. Ila, to sahibi qabrin, to a person of the grave. He came to a person of a grave, any grave, right? Any person of a grave, someone who's dead. Waqal, and he said, Innabni, verily my son, Fulan, right? Fulan. Verily my son, so and so. Why is Fulan with a fatha? Because of inna. Fulan is a replacement for ibn, right? Verily so and so, or verily my son, so and so. Maridun, he's sick. Fashfihu, or fashfihi. Fashfihi. So cure him. So cure him, like fashfini, ishfini, right? So cure him. فَانْتِظَارُ الشِّفَاء فَانْتِظَارُ الشِّفَاء. Then the waiting of the shifa al-ibni, then the waiting for the cure of the son. Mudaf mudaf ilay. This is mudaf mudaf ilay, and this is mudaf mudaf ilay. بعد دعوة الميت. بعد دعوة الميت. After calling. Da'wah, remember, we said is dua. It's the same word as dua. Da'wah has the same meaning of dua. It could be invitation or it could be calling on, right? بعد دعوة الميت. After calling on the dead person. Shirkun. والعياذ بالله. والعياذ بالله. لو شخص أتى
Mayyit.
ميت with a sukoon, with a not a sukoon, a shadda and a kasr on the ya, and mayyit with the meme has a fatha, the lam has a sukoon, right? بعد دعوة الميت shirk. So لو شخص أتى إلى صاحب قبر, a person, if a person came to a companion of a grave, a dead person, right? وقال, and he said,
Where you at?
up at the top here. I'm just reading it again. I'm just reading it again.
Okay.
وقال إن ابني فلان مريض. Indeed, my son so and so is sick. فاشفيه. So cure him. So heal him. فانتظار الشفاء الابن. So waiting for the healing of the son. بعد دعوة الميت. After the calling on the dead person. Shirk. وَالْيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. So, not only is calling on the dead person shirk, but then waiting for the answer for him is another shirk. Just like calling on Allah is ibadah, and waiting on the answer from Allah is another ibadah. Having that hope that Allah is going to answer is another type of ibadah. Right? So, in other words, a person could avoid having two shirks or two ibadahs. For instance, he could call on Allah, but then hope in the reward or hope in the answer from other than Allah. So he committed ibadah with one action and he did shirk with the other. Right? He did tawheed with one and shirk with the other. Or he could call on so-and-so, but wait for the answer from Allah. So for instance, when the people call on other than Allah and they say we only do this to get closer to Allah, then they know ultimately Allah is in charge of all of this, but they called on so-and-so. So they're calling on so-and-so is shirk, while they're waiting on the answer from Allah is tawheed. But that doesn't make them Muslims, because you have to do all of your ibadah solely for Allah Azza wa Jal. And we can see how our deeds can be multiplied, because when we ask Allah for something and then we wait for the answer from Him, then this is another type of ibadah. So we're steadily getting rewards. And we can also see how the people who commit shirk deserve the hellfire forever, because they are not only calling on other than Allah, but they're also doing other types of ibadah and shirk, meaning they're doing other types of worship for other than Allah when they are waiting for that answer from other than Allah Azza wa Jal. Clear?
No.
Tayyib. Go back up and read, Abdullah. With Dalil al-Raja.
دليل الرجاء قوله تعالى فمن كان يرجو لقاء ربه فليعمل عملا صالحا ولا يشرك بعبادة ربه أحدا. المراد بالرجاء انتظار ما يؤمل مثل شخص يدعو ربه أنه ينجح فرجع إنجاح هذه
نجاح فالرجاء النجاح
فرجاء نجاح
نجاحي
نجاحي okay فرجاء نجاحي هذا عبادة يعني انتظار الدعوة هذه عبادة مثل شخص يدعو ربه أنه يدخل جنتي فكونه يرجو دخول جنة هذه عبادة that and وانتظار
Actually, you see there's no Hamza there on either one of them, right? There's no Hamza. We'll say if we're stopping, we're just going to say intidar. But for instance, if there was something in front of it, then this Hamza would be skipped and you would just run this over to the noon, for instance, right?
Okay.
If I were to make this mudaf ilay right here, I would say raja'un tidar, and I would just skip over that alif. But since I'm starting in the beginning, intidar.
Okay, انتظار إجابة الدعاء عبادتي بعد عبادة فمن قال مثلا يا ربي اشفني وهو مريض فلما دعا that's probably دعا
فلما دعا
هذه عبادة وانتظار شفاء عبادة أخرى وهي عبادة الرجاء فالمسلم يتقلب من عبادة إلى عبادة كما قال سبحانه قل إن صلاتي ونسكي ومحياي ومماتي لله رب العالمين فمن صرف الرجاء لغير الله وقع في الشرك
وقع
Is that a set over?
No, just وقع
Okay, وقع في الشرك والعياذ بالله مثل لو شخص أتى إلى صاحب قبر وقال إن ابني فلان مريض فاشفيه
Maridun, right?
Maridun.
He is sick, right?
Maridun.
Yeah, there's no mudaf ilay there. There's nothing. There's no alif lam. Ibni maridun, right?
Okay.
My son is sick.
مريض فاشفه فانتظار فائل ابنه بعد دعوة I forget what this was now may it's supposed to be a shudder, right? Mayyid shak والعياذ بالله ميت
No.
ميت
Abu Sumaya, you came late. You want to read this section?
From where?
From the beginning of
ودليل رجاء
No.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم ودليل الرجاء قوله تعالى فمن كان يرجو لقاء ربه فليعمل عملا صالحا ولا يشرك بعبادة ربه أحدا. المراد بالرجاء انتظار ما يؤمل مثل شخص يدعو ربه أنه ينجح أنه ينجح فرجعوا نجاح هذا عبادته وهذا عبادته.
نعم دقيقة. فرجو نجاحي because it's مضاف إليه. So hoping for the success. النجاح is success.
هذا عبادته.
نعم.
يعني انتظار دعوة هذه.
Again مضاف إليه. انتظار
دعوة هذه عبادته. مثل شخص يدعو ربه أنه يدخل الجنة فكونه يرجو دخول الجنة هذه عبادته وانتظار إجابة الدعاء.
Now, 1 second. This is mudaf ilayh and this is mudaf ilayh. So the waiting for the answer of the dua, right?
Okay.
Waiting of the answer of.
إجابة الدعاء.
No, I'm sorry.
انتظار إجابة الدعاء عبادة بعد عبادته.
نعم.
فمن قال مثلا يا ربي اشفيني وهو مريض فلما دعا هذه عبادة وانتظار الشفاء
نعم.
وانتظار الشفاء عبادة أخرى وهي عبادة الرجاء. فالمسلم يتقلب من عبادتي إلى عبادتي.
It's ibadatin if you're gonna,
إلى عبادة. نعم. كما قال سبحانه قل إن الصلاة ونسكي ومحياي ومماتي لله رب العالمين فمن صرف الرجاء لغير الله وقع في الشرك والعياذ بالله. مثل
مثل.
ومثال مثله
نعم.
مثله لو شخص لو شخص أتى إلى صاحب قبر آتي أو أتى
أتى.
أتى
To come. Right? أتى.
أوكي.
He came.
لو شخص أتى إلى صاحب قبر وقال إن ابني فلان مريض فاشفيه وانتظار الشفاء الابن بعد دعوة الميت شرك والعياذ بالله.
No. Then he says, and this one is brief, we should be able to finish this in this 10 minutes or so. He says, excuse me. He says, وَالدَّلِيلُ التَّوَكُّلُ قَوْلُهُ تَعَالَى. And this should be a sukoon here, right? Not a sukoon, a shadda. Tawakkul. It should be a sukoon, a shadda on the kaf. I said a sukoon again. It should be a shadda. Tawakkul. With a shadda on the kaf. وَالدَّلِيلُ التَّوَكُّلُ قَوْلُهُ تَعَالَى. And the evidence for tawakkul. And he's going to explain to us what is tawakkul. Right? Is his statement the Most High? وَعَلَى اللَّهِ فَتَوَكَّلُوا إِن كُنتُم مُؤْمِنِينَ. وَعَلَى اللَّهِ, and upon Allah, فَتَوَكَّلُوا. Fa is, we're not going to translate here, but it means so, or therefore. Right? Tawakkalu. Tawakkalu is a command. Put your trust. Right? Basically, فَتَوَكَّلُوا عَلَى اللَّهِ. So put your trust on Allah. But we're emphasizing, who do you put your trust on? We're not emphasizing tawakkul. We're emphasizing who you're putting it on. So we say, وَعَلَى اللَّهِ فَتَوَكَّلُوا. And upon Allah put your trust. Or put your tawakkul, as you're going to find out, right? إِن كُنتُم مُؤْمِنِينَ. If indeed you are believers. If in kuntum mu'minin, if you are believers, if you were believers. But if you were indeed believers, Allahi fatawakkalu, then put your trust in Him, right? وَقَوْلُهُ, and his statement, وَمَنْ يَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ. And whoever yatawakkal, whoever puts their trust ala Allah, and yatawakkal is majzoom here. It has a sukoon because it is basically a condition, right? And we know that when we ever have a conditional sentence, if this then that, then the verb is going to be majzoom. وَمَنْ يَتَوَكَّلْ, and whoever puts their hope ala Allah, or puts their trust, not their hope, but their trust ala Allah, puts their tawakkul ala Allah, right, upon Allah, فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ, then he is hasbuhu. Hasbuhu, basically he is sufficient for him. He is, but this is a noun here, so let's see how we can translate that. Because hasbuhu means basically is sufficient, but since it's a noun, let's see how we can translate it as a noun, right? I don't know how you would translate it as a noun. Hasbuhu is like hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakil. Allah is sufficient for me. Hasbuhu, then this is, I don't know how you're going to translate it. Fahuwa hasbuhu, right? Then he is sufficient for him, right? Then he is enough of a reckoning, or enough for him, right? Okay. What dalil tawakkuli, in the evidence for tawakkul, qawluhu ta'ala, his statement the Most High, wa ala Allahi fayattawakkalu, wa ala Allahi fatawakkalu, and upon Allah do this tawakkul, have this trust. In kuntum mu'minin, if you're believers. Wa qawluhu, and his statement, wa man yatawakkal عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ. And whoever has this tawakkul on Allah, whoever has this entrusting of his affairs to Allah, then he is sufficient for him. وَالْمَرَادُ بِالتَّوَكُّلِ tawakkuli, right? Al-maradu, the intention by tawakkul, the meaning or the intent or the purpose, يعني تعلق تعلق again تعلق القلب تعلق القلب from Ain Lam Qaf, right? From like the Surah Al-Alaq, right? Where we talk about man being created from this thing that clings to the womb, right? This thing of clinging. Ta'alluq means to be connected or to cling. Ta'alluqul qalbi billahi, to attach the heart, basically, right? To attach, to make the heart cling and attach itself with Allah. وَتَفْوِيدُ الْأَمْرِ إِلَيْهِ وَتَفْوِيدُ الْأَمْرِ إِلَيْهِ subhanahu. Tafweed comes from fa waw dad, fa waw dad, meaning to entrust, to leave something to someone, right? To leave that, for instance, I trust my affair, he's going to take care of it, right? I don't have to know all of it. You got an accountant and he's been in the family for generations, and he's never, done anyone wrong or something like that. He's always had the lookout. This is tafweed. When you leave, I don't have to go over my books. I know he's looking out for me. You know what I mean? This is tafweed. Tafweedul amri ilayhi subhanahu. To leave and entrust your affair, the amr, your affair, to him. So whenever something bad happens, you get sick, right? You know it's for the right reason. Allah made you sick because you needed to be sick. Allah made you late because you needed to be late. If you would have been on time, then something bad might have happened. You entrust your affairs to him. وَمَنْ فَوَّضَ الْأَمْرِ وَمَنْ فَوَّضَ, this is a form 2. فَوَّضَ وَمَنْ فَوَّضَ الْأَمْرِ, right? This is to entrust their affairs. Whoever leaves their affairs, right? Whoever, like I said, form number 2 is to consign or to entrust or to commission or to authorize, to empower, to delegate. Like, go ahead and do, like power of attorney. But with Allah, of course, it's not like that. You could do whatever you need to do on my behalf. فَمَنْ فَوَّضَ الْأَمْرَ فَوَّضَ الْأَمْرَ, whoever entrusts what? The affair. مَفْعُولٌ بِهِ مَنْسُوب. لِغَيْرِ اللَّهِ, whoever entrusts their affairs to other than Allah. وَعَلَّقَ, and he attaches. قَلْبَهُ, attaches what? His heart. قَلْبَهُ, a fatha on the back for مَفْعُولٌ بِهِ مَنْسُوب. bihi, wa allaqa qalbahu bihi, and he attaches his heart to him. Li jalbi naf'in, li jalbi naf'in. Jalb comes from Jim Lam Ba, meaning to draw near or to attract. In order to basically obtain a benefit. Why does he attach his heart to him? In order to get some benefit, to attract or draw a benefit from him. Naf'in, this benefit. O daf'i ad-dar. O daf'i, or daf'i, and I'm saying daf'i because of the li. We're still going back to this lam there, right? Or for the purpose of, O li daf'i, even though we don't write the lam again, daf'i darrin, or to push away. Daf'a is to push away, to push, right? O daf'i darrin, or to push away a harm. And this is shadda on that ra, Abdullah. I know you're going to ask me that, right? دفع ضر وقع في الشرك والعياذ بالله. He fell into shirk and the refuge is sought in Allah. ومن أعظم منازل العبادة. ومن أعظم, and from the greatest. أعظم منازل, and this should be ممنوع من الصرف. منازل العبادة. This is majroor because it's مضاف إليه. However, it's ممنوع من الصرف. Right? منازل. من أعظم منازل. And from the greatest stations. This is from the Noon Zay Lam. And menzil is the singular. Menzil is the singular. This is a word for a house. Menzil, like the word bait and menzil, they're similar. Right? Basically, they're used interchangeably. But menzil is also a waiting place, like the bus station. That's a menzil. Right? That's a menzil. So along the way, you might have a lot of manazil, a lot of places where you stop, where people are waiting to get on the bus at. Right? And from the greatest, basically, stations of ibadah. And Ibn al-Qayyim, rahimahullah, that's his book, Madarij al-Salikin, where he talks about the different stations of ibadah. Right? Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in, 3 volumes, explaining that one ayah. Iyaka na'budu, iyaka nasta'in, 3 big volumes. Right? And he talks about the different stations of ibadah. And so he talks about these things that we reach, these points that we reach in our ibadah, right? Manazil al-ibadati. And from the greatest of the stations of ibadah, here, manzilatu at-tawakkuli. Manzilatu, the station of tawakkul. Right? The station of tawakkul. Bal hiya nisfuddin. Bal, rather. Like rather. Not only is it from a great thing, right? Rather, hiya nisfuddin. It is half of the religion. Nisf is half. Right? Hiya nisfuddin. Right? Qala subhanahu, glorified is he said, Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. Verily, we to you, not verily, but you alone we worship. Wa iyaka nasta'in, and you alone we seek help. Right? We seek assistance. Right? Fal isti'ana jisrun. Right? Jisrun litawakkuli. Right? Litawakkuli. Jisr is a bridge. Jisr is a bridge. فالاستعانة جسر للتوكل. Then isti'ana.
The brother said he don't hear you.
I don't know. He has to go in and out. You hear me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. فالاستعانة فالاستعانة, then this seeking assistance or seeking help, جسر للتوكل. It is a bridge to this tawakkul, this leaving and entrusting your affairs to Allah, right?
So the jisru, that's a kasra.
Jisrun, no. Jisrun.
Okay. Jisrun. Okay.
Go ahead and read, Got 5 minutes to finish the 3 lines.
Oh man, you gonna do it like that? What the little lutawakkuli qawluhu ta'ala wa Allahi وكلوا إن كنتم فتوكلوا إن كنتم مؤمنين قوله ومن يتوكل على الله فهو حسبه والمراد بالتوكل يعني تعلق قلبي بالله وتفويض الأمر إليه سبحانه ومن فوض الأمر لغير الله وألق قلبه به لجلب
نعم
لجلب نفع
نعم
نفع أو دفع ضر وقع في الشرك والعياذ بالله ومن أعظم منازل العبادة هي منزلة توكل بل هي نصف الدين قال سبحانه إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين فالاستعانة جسر للتوكل.
No. Now, I was just looking up the word hasb, right? In the Quran, hasbuhu, it says he is sufficient for him. And again, that is that's almost more like a verb than he is sufficient. It's almost like more like a verb, but even though I guess it is a noun. But also, it could be like almost like he's a guardian for him, right? He's a guardian for him. Meaning he's the one that's going to take care of his affairs, right? Huwa hasbuhu. He's sufficient for him, meaning he's going to be the one to oversee his affairs because he's trusting him. He's entrusting his matters to him. Fadl ya Aba Sumayya.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم ودليل توكل قوله تعالى وعلى الله فليتوكلوا إن كنتم مؤمنين وقوله ومن يتوكل على الله فهو حسبه والمراد بالتوكل يعني تعلق القلب بالله وتفوض الأمر إليه سبحانه وتفويض الأمر إليه سبحانه ومن فوض الأمر لغير الله وعلق قلبه
علق قلبه مفعول به منصوب. He attaches his
وعلق
heart.
قلبه نعم وعلق قلبه به لجلب النفع أو دفع الضر وقع في الشرك والعياذ بالله ومن أعظم منازل العبادة هي منزلة هي منزلة توكل، بل هي نصف الدين. قال سبحانه: إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. فالاستعانة جسر للتوكل.
So far we've had from the types of ibadah that Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab brings, he brings al-Islam, al-Iman, al-Ihsan. That's 3. Then he brought ad-du'a, wal-khawf, wal-raja, wal-tawakkul. Ad-du'a, wal-khawf, wal-raja, wal-tawakkul. And he said that we know what dua is, right? And we know the khawf. The khawf is the type of fear of something that they don't have the ability over, right? To fear a lion, this is khawf tabi'i. This is a natural fear. But to have fear of someone in the grave who has nothing to do over anything, he has no ability, right, to harm you, then to have this fear of that person, then this is shirk. And then we said, Ar-Raja huwa intidar ma yu'ammilu. It is to wait for what you're hoping for. And so we said this is the way we can multiply our ibadah, because we make dua and then we wait for the answer. The dua is ibadah and the waiting for the answer is ibadah. And then we had at-tawakkul, right? At-tawakkul, which is تعلق القلب بالله والتفويض الأمر إليه. It is the hoping or attaching the heart to Allah and entrusting the affair to Him, right? So we've had 7. We've had al-Islam, al-Iman, al-Ihsan, al-Dua, al-Khawf, al-Raja, al-Tawakkul. طيب, we're going to memorize them 17. We're going to memorize them. As every day we go over, we're going to keep repeating them. Got it?
Inshallah.
Allah Barak Feek. Any other questions?
No matter,
Jisr is a bridge.
Bridge. Yeah.
Al-Isti'ana, this seeking help, this seeking assistance is a bridge to this reliance. If you're not going to seek help from anyone, that you're not putting your affairs in their hands. You're not entrusting them in their affairs, in your affair. So that's why it's a bridge to that, inshallah. وإياكم. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.